What's up, guys? C on C episode number 7 coming at you guys right now. I know I've been out of the game for a while, but I've been trying to live life, trying to enjoy these last couple months here in Nebraska. With that being said, guys, let's get into it, huh?
And I'm gonna be high. I'm a rocket man. Rocket man. Hey. And I'm gonna be I'm a rocket man.
Alright, guys, we just got done with formal weekend, and I have some hella good stories for you. But before that, I officially committed to ASU, so I will be living in Tempe, Arizona for the next 4 to 6 years of my life, and potentially longer. It just matters on how I like that environment, how I like that ecosystem, and if I want to prolong that. But that'll be an interesting little journey. I'm going to be moving down. I have to move down by August 13th. But yeah, no one really wants to hear about me that much. This weekend. So this weekend we had our formal, and my organization I am on campus, we go down to Council Bluffs, get a nice hotel, get some dates down there, and then just enjoy some time with our guys and our dates. And that was a very, very amazing experience for me, and it was kind of like my cleansing, I guess. That's my last formal being a senior. And yeah, it was beautiful. And I had an amazing date. Had a bunch of amazing guys around, to enjoy that with me. And, the day after yesterday, so this would have been 2 days ago. Yesterday we came back, and it was just an emotional experience for me because the drug that was the weekend, the formal, just that experience, that life high, just gave me a come down the last 24 hours. And I'm back now, but it was just, one of those things. Not only was the weekend absolutely impeccable, and just a joy and constant entertainment and things going on and people to talk to, but it just kind of sank in that I'm a senior and I'm going to be out of here, and I'm ready to go. I'm ready to move on to the next step. I'm ready to be an adult. I'm ready to start my life. But, at the same time, there's been a lot of time, emotion, and effort invested into these projects that I'm leaving, and a lot of really cool guys I'm going to miss. So, and the relationships that support is going to be a little different when it's not 2 blocks away, right? Now we're talking across the country. I got all these brothers that I live life with right now, all the time, every time. And it's good, man. I'm gonna miss it, but we're moving along, we're chugging along. We had an incredibly rattling experience or run-in with a flasher. Yeah, so I'm gonna give you guys the whole rundown of the story because it's pretty wild. So we are at formal having a good time, right? Of course. And we're in our suite. So I got a suite for the weekend, and we're all hanging out in the suite as a group. It's probably about 30 of us, 40 of us. There's about 70 of us total. We're kind of in and out doing our own thing. There's probably like 5 things going on at once, like legitimate things, activities. So we probably had about 25, 30 people in here. And yeah, it was kind of crazy. We were getting excited, right? So we actually went in our suites. Surrounding our suites, we had rooms where we tried to get rooms of people also in the party to create like a natural buffer around us. But, you can't really contain that much excitement. So kind of bled through a little bit. And we did get some noise complaints. So after those noise complaints, boom, 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 someone comes and knocks on the door. This lady, super nice, generous lady, and she was like, hey, so we're getting noise complaints, but you guys can come move the party down to the main lobby. So right off the bat, we're like, okay, well, there's no like party areas in the main lobby. And we get down there, and she's directing us to like the breakfast area. So right off the bat, this area is not very conducive to, it's not the right environment, setting ecosystem for us to party, right? There's like tables. It looks like a family's about to come down and eat breakfast. There's like breakfast equipment. There's like a waffle maker up that's like halfway cleaned on the counter. So, it's not really supportive of what we were trying to do. So first thing we do, we move the tables, right? We move the tables, we get them all on a block, we get some cups going, and we get some music. So now all of a sudden, we're in this environment. We've kind of created this world where we might be able to kind of enjoy our time down there. And it was fun. We were all loose and ready to have a good time. So it wasn't that difficult, but we're hanging out there for a while. I was gone at some point for something, probably in my room, probably getting something, probably talking to someone. And I come back and one of the ladies is like, there's a guy who flashed us. I'm like, well, what do you mean? Like, well, he showed us his gonads and ran off. So we're like, well, that's kind of wild. And it's not exactly like an isolated place, right? This is in the middle of the bottom floor. Like the reception desk is probably like 10 yards out. So this guy just asks the reception desk, flashes the squad, and goes off. So we're on the defense, right? We're aware that there is something not natural going on. And then we get back. I think I left again. I was probably in and out all night. We get back, and the girls say they got flashed again. So now it's kind of flips from something that was kind of a joke or just wild to something that's an issue, right? Because we have a bunch of dates. We want to make sure that they're comfortable and that they're having fun. That's our responsibility. So it kind of turns into a problem. And I look at my buddy Christian, and he's got the same face on. We have to do something about this. So we go directly to the elevator. Someone said they saw him get on the elevator, and we were going to go track him down, at least talk to him, right? We were probably moving in an aggressive manner and probably looked like we were about to do something aggressive, but it was more just solve the issue. So we take off, we go into the elevator. In the elevator is a guy from Jimmy John's. So me and Christian are full primal predator mode, hunting down, protect the pack. We got to protect the pack. There's a Jimmy John's guy in there who is just probably rattled as shit because me and Christian are just like blocked out, ready to fucking go, like full serious, no smiles. And we get to the first floor. So we don't know where we do not know where the flasher is on the hotel. There's probably, I think there's 5 floors. 5 floors. We don't know where he's at, so we have to check every floor. So the door opens, we click every fucking button on the wall, and he's probably just like, what the hell's going on? We click, so we get off, floor 1 opens. We look back at him and I say, hey, can you hold the door for us? We got to do something. And this is all like extremely serious. Christian looked like he was going to murder someone. We get out, we split at the hallway, look, don't see anything, get back in the elevator. Floor 2, same thing opens. It's like, hey, can you hold the door for us again? So this goes all the way to about like, I think 4, we get to floor 3, and I was like, hey, we're going to be doing this across every floor. I don't want to waste your time. You can get out of here. I hate to slow you down. And he was almost like he wanted to be a part of it. Like he felt what was going on. He felt the seriousness. He felt the excitement, and he wanted in. And he's like, nah, I'm in this for you guys. I'll help you guys out. So we get all the way to floor 5. We get to floor 5, and there's a man with a laptop, right? He's got like a laptop open right here. And naturally, we think he works for the hotel. So right off the bat, we haven't even talked to the guy. We have no idea if he works for the hotel. But in our minds, we're good. We can do whatever we want because we might as well be employed by the Holiday Inn at this point. So now we're at Holiday Inn employees. There's a flasher on the loose. And this guy said he saw him go down the stairs. So it's game time. Me and Christian are ready to go. Me and Christian are like on the sides of this dude. This dude's got a laptop out. We look like we're like working for the CIA, about to go mob some type of business. And we get all the way down to the bottom floor. And I can't remember exactly. I know we beeline. Oh yeah, we asked him where the stairs would exit. And he's like, down that hall. So as soon as the doors open, we beeline straight for the stairs. And so this is another interesting addition. The elevator doors open right in front of the area we were partying. So me, Christian, and this laptop dude get out of the elevator, just on a freaking mission, eyes wide, predator mode complete, and we're walking by the entire party. So everybody in the party thinks shit's about to go down because we were on a mission. We probably looked like we were gonna murder someone. So we run by. I see the guy. The bearded man sees this guy, points to him. I look over, I see him in the hall. We just run over. Here's the interesting part of this story. While there was a lot of aggression, it's not saying that there would have been any aggressive behavior that went down, but it was very, if need be, we probably would have done what we needed to make sure that guy was sedated or, controlled. But when we walked up to him, he was so out of it that any aggression that was in that could have been in that room was completely automatically removed, no matter who you are. He had no idea where he was at, and he was literally standing in the middle of this like hotel lobby, just like with no idea where he was at. He looked like in his head he was in a field full of flowers. So yeah, we didn't really do much. We got it handled. The bearded guy grabbed him. We like kind of like surrounded him, and the bearded guy like grabbed him and pulled him over to the front desk. The cops came, yada yada yada. And apparently the guy was doing a lot of other stuff to other families too. So he wasn't only flashing our group, but he was flashing little children and stuff like that. So while, you know, it might have been misinterpreted as over aggressive in the moment, it was necessary, and it was completely, it was the right thing to do. And I'm glad we did it. And just making sure that we protect, you know, our group, make sure everybody's comfortable, because that's what it's all about. And it's a beautiful weekend. It's a beautiful experience. We don't need anything tainting it. Now, one of the funniest things about this experience is that we had a friend named Richard, and Richard was kind of out of it the night of the flasher. He was heavily intoxicated, and I'm sure everybody can relate to this, but when you drink above the average amount of alcohol you normally do, I'm sure you've experienced, so your memory is somewhat impaired, but you still have snapshots of the night, right? So you have screenshots, like, you know, you talked to this person, you're not really sure what's said. And you know, you walked over here, then you have a snapshot of you in your bathroom. One of those, yeah, Richard did not have this. Richard has nothing. So this leaves us a lot of room for creativity, right? We can get creative with this. Now, we're meeting the next morning, and Richard's just sitting in the middle of a bunch of bros, just trying to gather what his reality is, what happened the night before, and what's going on. How should he feel about the night? So, Mr. Foote, a good friend of mine as well, very articulate and clever individual, decides that he's just going to fabricate the story that Richard was the flasher. So we're sitting in this room, and you're like, do you remember that you flashed that family and everybody at the party? And Richard completely believed the story, and it was probably one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my entire life. Unfortunately, it was so hard to watch. It was like 15 minutes. This dude thought that he was flashing his gonads at families and kids around the hotel, and Richard's just such a like innocent guy that we kind of had to break into it. But Richard is the flasher is now probably one of my favorite terms, and I would like to put it on a shirt, or Richard was the flasher. And it was just a beautiful experience all around. I will never forget that. I will never forget that formal experience in general. We caught the flasher, and then convinced Richard that he was the flasher. And yeah, it was just crazy. It was absolutely crazy. And we still bring it up. I mean, that's going to last forever. But yeah, it was wild. It was wild. These last couple days, kind of like I touched on before, it's just been an emotional experience, I guess, just coming down from the experience that is college, or just being a 21-year-old male, even better. You know, getting ready to move on, exit this time of my life, and, you know, start over somewhere is kind of wild. And one thing I do find interesting about all this is getting connections with people. I'm a very long-term thinker, and the fact that I know that I'm going to be moving out of Nebraska within the next 4 to 3 months makes emotional connection, or, you know, finding new people that I connect with, a very interesting experience. Just because I know long term that there's not a lot of opportunity, or immediate opportunity, and they can make it very interesting, right? Like, you're always forming connections with people, or finding new people that share qualities that you admire or like or enjoy being around. And just the fact that, you know, that it is an unavoidable future that you will be moving, or you will be exiting for, you know, at least 5 to 6 years, if not forever, makes it a interesting road to navigate. And so that's been an interesting experience for me, something that I've never experienced before, because I've actually lived in Nebraska my entire life. So, but I'm excited, man. I shouldn't have said unavoidable right there, because I'm excited. And I'm ready, and I'm not nervous. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to get some sun. I'll probably be tan for the first time in my life. So yeah, it's wild. It's wild. What else do I have for you guys? Well, one thing that I found recently is that It's very easy to get caught up in the everyday complexities of life. There are drama, social, having a social life, staying socially active, paying the bills, getting money, making sure that you take care of your loved ones, make sure you contact your loved ones, all this different stuff. And when I'm going through these, busy times of these everyday life, mumbo jumbo, I find myself getting distant from things I'm passionate about. So for example, this morning, I dove into space again. For some reason when I woke up, I don't know if it was just the weekend in general, but I didn't want to listen to any music. Normally when I travel, I listen to music all the time. In my headphones, when I longboard, when I'm walking, I'm always listening to music. For whatever reason, this morning I did not want to listen to music at all. I felt like I needed to batten down the hatches and build knowledge and build on what I need in the future. For whatever reason that may be, for whatever reason I was in that kick. And it was beautiful. It was absolutely insane. And I forgot, because I had phased out. I had gotten so distant from, space and, quantum and all these things that really get me going as an individual. I forgot how good it felt to pursue that passion and build that knowledge, and build that realm. And it was beautiful. And it was a very emotional experience for me. Like, I just found so much joy in it. And it was like, wow, like, I can't believe I haven't been doing this for so long. Why haven't I? And then I was just thinking about it so much. Like, well, why am I not doing this more often? This is so joyous, and I get so much stimulation from it, and I'm missing out on a large chunk of, what gets me going. And not like it's not obvious. This room looks like a freaking observatory, but still, there's learning about it and progressing knowledge, building on what I have. It's something that I'm very passionate about, and something that I need to exercise more and focus on. Maybe that's something maybe I needed to be distant from that so I could enjoy these, last couple of weeks and really keep my eyes on the prize as far as enjoying this last weekend with my guys and these girls. But, I think there's some middle ground there a happy medium where, I can still, have a social life and enjoy and be active while still pursuing these passions and stimulating this part of the brain. Because it's definitely a new part of the brain, and I recognize this morning that I haven't touched it in a while, and it was a beautiful experience. And I think that's something that, everybody needs to have their eyes on is, progressing passions and focusing on those, and making sure that your head's always in a place of excitement where you're asking questions is the place to be, and focusing less on everyday bullshit that, keeps you distracted, keeps your mind in other places, you're too concerned about social status and stuff. Ramble. Yeah, and I read Neil deGrasse Tyson right here, Astrophysics for People in a Hurry, and I got into quantum gravity a little bit, which is some super mega nerd shit that not a lot of people probably know about. But it's amazing, man. Getting into these pools of knowledge and exercising that and finding these things that are new to you is one of the most incredible things ever. And there's this really good analogy that I heard that it's always stuck around with me for whatever reason. And that is, so there's this old man, and he lives in this house, and he's lived in this house for 30 years. He knows it like the back of his hand. And he has a library in this house, and he spends a lot of time in there. He reads in there every day. But, so first, one of the walls, obviously, you could probably presume, has a lot of books on it. And one day, he goes over to his side of the bookshelf that he never really explores much, and he takes a book that he's never touched before and pulls it. And rather than the book just coming off the shelf neatly and him sitting down, the bookshelf opens and swings open. So now, all of a sudden, the house that this man has known for 30 years, like the back of his hand, he probably assumed that he knew everything about it, has now just been torn apart. And all of a sudden, there's a portal to the unknown in this house. Now he has an extreme drive to go pursue that portal, and that's what I experienced with space, and that's why I've fell in love with it, I guess, and that's why I'm pursuing it as a career. And I think it's important. Everybody has those portals in there. As much as you may think that you don't have an interest, you don't have a passion, you don't have someone that makes you want to wake up in the morning and ask questions. I think there's a spot for that in everybody, and it just takes a little effort to find. And once you do, it is an absolutely beautiful experience. I might talk about that a lot, but I think that's really important. And something that I just got back into today. So it was really exciting. And it just got me going. What else? The flooding. So as many of you probably know, Nebraska's gotten hit pretty hard with floodwaters. and we've pretty much broken every record in Nebraska as far as flood waters, water heights, water amounts, amounts of flooded cities. And I'm going to explain this for people just so you guys can get a little context of what actually happened. So during the winter months, especially as we got into the spring area, there was frequent melting. So there was frequent melting and freezing. And the problem with that, let me step back a little bit. When we look at the top of the earth, there's ground, like you have that the crust, right? The very surface, the dirt that you dig in, and then you go down, and then there's usually there's water tables underneath. So there's groundwater sources underneath. So normally when it rains, you have your water in it. It settles on the top, soaks through the dirt, and finds its way into these groundwater resources. The problem is, what happened with Nebraska is that the snow melt would cause that water to permeate into the soil, would go into the soil, but instead of it going into groundwater resources, it would freeze in the soil. So what is happening is we're clogging up our drain in a sense. So when this heavy snow melt came, and since we had been freezing and thawing so much, there was nowhere for that water to go. The water couldn't go down because everything was the soil was completely saturated. So rather than going down, the only place it could go is side to side. So now we have water building up because it cannot soak into the earth. And then we get huge volumes of water flowing through into houses and cities. And that's where we got our problem, which is now, fortunately enough, I didn't have any family that was negatively impacted by it. Physically, monetarily, we did take some hits. My grandma's lake house got flooded up, and she showed some pictures, and her dressers floating in the middle of their basement, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, I mean, prayers out. Hopefully everybody's doing all right. Hopefully no one was directly affected. Be thinking about those people. There's been a lot of support, monetary, physical, labor. A lot of people have been coming together, and that's something nice about Nebraska, especially during a time of stress like this. There's a lot of support. There's a lot of connectivity in the community. So, support and being good mannered as far as, a lot of times during during these extreme events, there's a lot of crime because everybody's their guards down. They're worried about other stuff. Luckily, in these communities, in these areas, there's not a lot going on just because of the dynamic that, Nebraska is, and other surrounding areas. But yeah, these natural disasters are kind of like a wake-up call, I guess. We have to be careful when we're walking in gray areas like this about making assumptions or making statements like climate change is real. This is climate change. This is what happens because, this is weather and this is not climate. But, as these things start to stack up, it'll be much easier for us to claim and make assertions and say, no, we can see in the last 10 years shit has gotten pretty real as far as climate events, and we need to do something about this. So yeah, I think hopefully this does not begin to happen more dramatically and more often, but you never really know. Things are going to be starting to stir up soon because stuff is getting pretty real as far as, emissions, where we are at level-wise as far as CO2 in the atmosphere, yada, yada, yada. There's a lot going on, and it's going to get pretty serious here soon. So hopefully people can make adjustments and take care of what they want to, or take care of what they need to, I should say. One thing I do find extremely interesting about this all is that in Nebraska especially, it's very much easier to distance yourself from the idea of climate change compared to that of someone in Florida who can see the sea rising. Every year they walk out and this ocean is getting closer to their porch. Stuff like that. The hurricanes. You can be like, the hurricanes are hitting my house and I can see the water rising. Like year to year, I can see it rising and my house is getting beat to shit every single year compared to, the last 20, 30, 40 years where it wasn't as frequent. And it's very easy for someone in Nebraska to just be like, well, I mean, we still have corn. Everything is going good. So yeah, this is kind of like, I feel like this is a way of Mother Nature kind of like pinching us on the ass here in the Midwest and being like, hey, you guys can be affected by this too, So I found that extremely interesting. Like I said, thinking about all the families, hopefully everyone's doing well. We'll battle back. Meat prices are going to be rising, probably, most likely. If they haven't already. I don't think so. I haven't noticed anything, which is going to hit my bank account pretty hard. But yeah, I mean, everybody's going to be affected, especially if you live in Nebraska. Everybody's going to be economically affected by that. And that's just one of those things we have to deal with. Something else that is absolutely wild. So Burger King decided that they're going to introduce a vegetarian Whopper. So I'm not exactly sure how this is going to work. It's kind of exciting, I guess. We're moving in the right direction, considering that whatever is in those burgers is not exactly from the farm. I would assume, there's all those stories over history about the slime and all that stuff, but they're hoping to reach new horizons. So, maybe the wave of vegetarian haters and aggressive ass people who just fucking love plants so much will, battle along with this, maybe take some heat off of, big names. One thing I do find interesting, the reason I kind of like tighten up there is that some of these groups like vegans, I respect vegans, and I would never do a vegetarian diet because I love meat. But a lot of these movements, a lot of these groups are extremely aggressive, especially in the public eye when we're talking about like social media and stuff like that. They just have a very aggressive way of dealing with problems. That's why I kind of tighten up right there. So it'll be interesting to see how they react to something like this, because I'm sure it'll be huge. I'm sure people will probably be complaining if it's not good, if it's not quality. One of the biggest things with this, though, is that they can't really beat around the bush here, because if like a bunch of vegans find out that they ate meat, every single Burger King in the United States is going to be burnt to the ground within 12 hours. These guys, there is a vegan militia probably in Southern California. Like a little bunker in the base, probably. A little bunker in the sand, probably of the beach. I would assume that there are a lot of vegans centralized in Southern California. But I wouldn't know. What I'm saying is Burger King cannot fake this. So this is going to be legit. There's no way it's not. And if it is not legit, you can say bye-bye to BK. And I would invest in McDonald's, because they are going to fucking hit the ceiling. What else, man? Well, Trump, or the White House, or the administration, or whatever, the United States is apparently, I don't know what kind of like general ass statement this is, but they are looking into economic impacts of closing the border. This isn't a surprise. We've been talking about this forever. We'll probably continue to talk about this until, a new stone is turned. And yeah, it's just the most weird, like, it's just so unfortunate that news stories like this come out. There is so much cool shit going on in the world today. Elon Musk, I applied for a company that is building a neural net that goes on your head and allows you to upload information into your brain. We have solar cities where we are going to be able to exponentially increase the energy capacity of our planet, because we're now harvesting solar power and it's becoming cheaper and more efficient. Yet we have all this cool ass stuff going on. Elon Musk also is building tunnels under LA so we can have underground travel. We have all this cool stuff going on, yet we have this like general, really empty ass statement, news story about how the White House has announced that they have looked into the economic impacts of what happens when we close the border. Now I'm no politician, but I'm going to assume that this has already been addressed. I'm sure that they've already analyzed the economic impacts of this, considering that the president has wanted to do this for 4 years. So it's just like their pockets are empty, and now they're like kind of pulling out lint for us. And I don't really like that. And I think that's interesting. And I think there needs to be more like species beneficial stuff talked about on the news sources. And I think that we have an absence of that right now. And I find that a lot when I mean, of course I'm biased, right? And I have no idea what's best for the general public. Like I said, I'm not a politician, and as of now, I don't plan on it. Maybe in the future. But what I'm saying is that from my, I'm a college student, I would assume that we want a more general field of knowledge about what's going on, whether this be science, art, and I just think that's lagging, especially because a lot of people I talk to really don't know what's going on as far as, advancements in technology, advancements in business, yada, yada, yada. So that's something that grinds my gears. And I'm going to end the news on that, guys, because I don't want to get too newsy. And that kind of bums me out. But yeah, guys, last thing I'll say is the March Madness NCAA college basketball tournament is unarguably probably one of the more interesting and satisfying events to watch, especially because everybody can participate. So I hope you guys all got your brackets, everything filled out, and got that competition going. And I really like the diversity in the Final Four this year. I mean, Michigan State's always there, but Auburn and Texas Tech, having those two in there, it's new, it's cool. And it's nice to not see, you know, the normal Kentucky Duke, Kentucky Wisconsin championship game. I'm sure that like 75% of the United States is absolutely pissed off that Duke's not in the tournament, but I'm not one of those people. So, you know, for all of you that chose Duke, I'm sorry. But yeah, I'm excited to watch that. Excited to watch these two games play out. And I'm excited to see the climax, to see this bad boy come to fruition and see who's at the top. All right. And I think I'm going to end it right there for the day, guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I was a little more diverse this time. I wanted to give a little more news and just have a wider breadth with the information I was covering. It's been a while, and you know, we're always growing and we're always trying to learn, always trying to figure out how we can tune this. One thing I will say that I found super interesting, if you guys remember, at the end of last episode I asked, you know, what can I do for you? Leave a comment. What can I do for you guys? What do you guys want to see? What would be beneficial for you? Where do you think I should take the podcast? Should I have more guests and everything? And I got a lot of responses to that question, actually. And one lady said, you know, who's your audience, right? Because in order to help you, you have to know who your audience is, who you're targeting. And that was such an interesting question for me because I really couldn't answer. And I think one of the reasons I couldn't answer there is because, you know, I haven't really focused into a niche. And I don't think I want to focus into a niche right now. You know, I'm a young man and I'm developing all the time. I'm developing new interests and I'm always, you know, relieving old interests. And, you know, I just feel like if I try to narrow my focus down too much and really find a niche this early, I'm going to be limiting myself, or I'm going to be adjusting. I'm going to be switching. And so, yeah, right now I'm going to keep it very broad. I do appreciate that comment, but yeah, I'm going to keep it very broad, very general, and just kind of see where it takes me. You know, maybe once I get into graduate school, I will, you know, settle in on more of a space podcast or more of just, you know, like a general information podcast. I don't really know. And the fact that my guests are so broad in nature and information and fields makes it a very interesting process for me. So if I stay on that interview path, I think that there's no way I'll ever settle into one niche just because of the broad range of guests I have. So that was interesting, and I do appreciate the feedback we got last week. But as always, stay on the comments, guys. Seriously, if you liked it, put it in the comments. If you think I need to do some, if you didn't like it, there's a good thing, if there's a bad thing, put it all in there. Like, subscribe, people. I appreciate the support, guys. I will see you on the Flippity Flop. And last thing. I'm going to stop alluding to future guests on the podcast. If you guys noticed today, I didn't say like, oh, next week we have yada, 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 or in 2 weeks we have yada, yada, yada. Because right now I'm very much so at the dismay of my interviewee and their schedule, because I keep saying, I'm going to have them next week, and then they don't come on. And I'm like, well, we're going to have them next week. And I keep making all these, you know, empty claims because, you know, my interviewee's schedule is not lining up. So rather than me just keep saying this stuff and letting people down, or, you know, getting people to expect an interview or whatnot, and then me coming on solo or me not posting an episode, I'm just going to keep it very general and straight, you know. And if something is confirmed, or if I know 100% it's going to happen, I'll make sure to put a tweet out, a post, maybe shout it out on here on an episode prior or before. But yeah, I mean, I will say that we do have interviews lined up the next couple weeks. I'm not going to say with who, but I'm excited, and they're really good, and I'm really excited. And yeah, let's do it, guys. I appreciate everyone watching. Make sure you guys have a good day. Ask questions, be curious, and try to learn about the world around you. Let's do it.
Gotta play with my brother. Chanel bag with my lover. Put old nigga don't suck. They telling on one another. I want a train, let run a train. If she want bang, just let her bang. He said he bleeding with a stain. My bitch at the top of food chains. They local, I don't even know the name. I been fresh since a kid, ain't never played. I just picked up a back in Rotterdam. I'ma whip out the Mac and pop your brain. I do what I want and shout it can't. I do what I feel and shout it can't. I'm digging, shout it lane. And all of the bitches say they dig that. From Maine way to Spain. All I got is some chicken for the thoughts. I take out like a plane. I'm gonna be high. a rocket man. Yeah, like a rocket man. Yeah, yeah. I'm a rocket man. On a private hunter, I'm a rocket launcher. It gotta be the pride of something. Hop off that man is stumbling. I stumble up on a meal. I stumble up on $1.5 million. I spent a fortune on them double seals. If I tell you the numbers, you probably cry. If I tell you you're faking, you probably die. These days, if he say that he hit, then he probably lied. If you say you got wings and some fish, then you probably fried. Got my carrots out of Bonnie Clyde. She let me back in like she never cried. She let me back in like I never lied. I look like a cat with 11 lives. I really kick shit, you can ask a fly. I'm steady chasing like I'm